This is CBC Vancouver News.
And we just rebuilt, so this is bringing back traumatic experiences.
On alert again. Deja vu for a BC family who lost their home to a wildfire once already. Years later, they're bracing for another evacuation.
It's just so creepy to know that someone could have been watching in that moment.
A birthday weekend, hidden cameras, now a police investigation. An Airbnb on the Sunshine Coast at the center of it all.
I had been looking for Dan for a long time.
We met on Instagram, and then we decided we should get together.
And remember Jumanji? Movie super fans unite decades later. A behind-the-scenes look at the local angle that connects them all. Good evening, I'm Tanya Fletcher. Thanks for joining us. Well, it's still April and already 2 wildfires in BC have triggered evacuation alerts, both of them in the Cariboo region. This weekend's weather has led to a perfect storm of conditions. Sudden warm temperatures paired with gusty winds. The CBC's Yasmin Gandam has our top story tonight.
BC Wildfire says there were 9 new fires discovered in the province on Saturday alone. 2 have now been upgraded to fires of note: the Lost Valley Road wildfire about 90 kilometers northwest of Kamloops and the Dripping Water wildfire west of Williams Lake. The Wildfire Service says both fires were preventable.
What I can say is that the majority of the spring wildfires we have seen and that we typically see are due to human activity, and so therefore are entirely preventable.
27 homes in the Cariboo region are under evacuation alert, with residents on edge, ready to leave at a moment's notice.
Packing what we could, all of our valuable paperwork and pictures and things like that. And we packed it. It's all packed in the car, and some things in the truck right now, and just being on guard and ready for if we have to leave. Because the last time we left, we never saw our house again.
Smith is extra cautious as his family home burned in 2017.
5 or 6 years ago, 2017, we lost our home to a wildfire then with the Elephant Hill fire, and we just rebuilt. So this is bringing back traumatic experiences.
The Cariboo District says it is somewhat unusual to see wildfires so early in the season.
Yeah, it is certainly early in the year for an evacuation alert. It has happened in 2021, for example. We did have an evacuation alert in a different area of the TNRD. We do commonly see these early season wildfires with the snow melting and conditions dry. Of course, this weekend we've seen much warmer than normal temperatures, and we have seen some winds as well. So it is a recipe for increased fire activity.
BC Wildfire says it is too early to predict what lies ahead, but there is some concern with drier conditions.
And the number and severity of the wildfires we'll see in the core season will be largely dependent on the amount of rain we receive, primarily in June.
BC Wildfire Service is hoping for some relief as crews continue to work in the Cariboo region. People in the affected regions are being told to pack essential items like medications and identification. But there is a sense of hope with showers forecasted. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, fire ripped through an electrical room on the downtown east side last night, and now 1 person is dead. This was shortly after 9 p.m. at Hastings and Dunlevy. Smoke was seen coming from the rear parking lot. More than 40 firefighters responded. They found a man at the scene and attempted CER, but he was declared dead. Drug paraphernalia and an open flame were also discovered within a metal door. The fire is not considered suspicious, but the exact cause is still under investigation. Well, meanwhile, the fire that sent the Kitsilano showboat up in flames is now considered suspicious. Arson detectives from the Vancouver Police Major Crime Section are leading this investigation. No arrests have been made. Last Saturday around midnight, a huge fire tore through the iconic outdoor amphitheater. No injuries were reported, but the showboat was left with significant damage. To the Sunshine Coast now, where what was supposed to be a fun birthday weekend trip suddenly took a dark turn. As the CBC's Michelle Gomez explains, a group of women discovered hidden cameras in their Airbnb, and police are now investigating.
Jamie Gladman was celebrating her 30th birthday with a group of friends at an Airbnb in Gibsons last month when one of her friends became suspicious of hidden cameras. After searching the home, they found 2, both inside broken power outlets in each of the bathrooms and both facing the showers.
And there was a crack in one of the outlets. So I think it prompted one of my friends to look into it because I guess she had seen TikToks and videos online about people finding hidden cameras.
At that point, they had already been there for 2 days, showering and using the bathrooms.
It was terrifying. Like, it was honestly a little traumatic. It was weird because it was on our last night and, you know, we're all just trying to have a good time. And then suddenly, like, the tone completely changed.
The group went to sleep anxious and left first thing the next morning, hoping they were wrong. But a few weeks later, local police told Gladman they found cameras after searching the property. Sunshine Coast RCMP confirmed to CBC they are investigating.
It's just so creepy to know that someone could have been watching in that moment. And even if not, if it's something they're playing back, like, it's very off-putting.
Kennedy Caldwell was also on the trip.
We were scared. Like, the girls started making makeshift weapons and hiding them under the bed. Like, we all slept in one room together. It's really scary because you don't know who was staying there before us. How long had that camera been in there? Like, there could have been families with children staying there.
Experts say advances in technology have made it easier for people to hide cameras.
Camera and video technology is becoming increasingly sophisticated, has really facilitated this kind of interpersonal surveillance.
Airbnb wrote in a statement they ban hidden cameras. The company says it has suspended the listing in question and refunded the guests. The women are in contact with a lawyer and plan to take legal action. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, if Surrey doesn't want the province's money to help continue its policing transition, other municipalities do. Leaders in other jurisdictions say it's Surrey's problem, so Surrey should have to pay for it.
It did come as a surprise, I think, to a number of individuals late last week when the province, after having months having said that there was no additional funding to come onto the table, to put upwards of $150 million to one city to basically address an issue that city created with the transition. I think it raises a lot of questions.
On Friday, BC's Public Safety Minister recommended that Surrey continue its transition away from the RCMP to a municipal police force instead. The government offered $30 million per year for 5 years to essentially get it done. But other cities say they too could use provincial funding and will gladly take the money if Surrey ultimately turns it down. Well, BC's grape, hazelnut, berry, apple, and cherry production is getting a boost from the province.
We heard loud and clear from many of you in our wine sector and other perennial crop sectors the need for support with removing and replanting crops that were susceptible to disease and extreme weather.
So now a $15 million program will help farmers strengthen crop production and food security. For the wine industry, it'll help with planting new and improved varieties of grapes that are best suited to our climate. And then another $1 million in funding will focus specifically on new marketing tools for the tree fruit sector. Well, yesterday's summer-like weather drew thousands of people to the waterfront from Sunset Beach to English Bay. But the aftermath wasn't so sunny, with litter and evidence of alcohol strewn all throughout many public spaces this morning.
Yeah, well, it's certainly turned into an epic garbage weekend here in Vancouver. I mean, the weather's been fantastic and we're delighted that people are out on the beach. But, I'm getting reports from all across the system of overflowing garbage cans and, people trying to be polite by putting all their bottles in containers besides these bins, but it's just pouring out onto the sidewalks. And, it's been a real mess this weekend.
Well, by midday today, much of the mess had been collected and toted away, but as you can see, a lot of it remains. This week, the Vancouver Park Board did approve amendments to a bylaw that increases the number of parks and beaches where people can consume alcohol to 31 in total. Sunset Beach and English Bay, by the way, are not part of the program. Over to Vancouver Island now, where opponents of a controversial barge dismantling operation rallied in protest.
Protect Bing Sound! Protect Bayside! You have every right to be angry. That facility doesn't belong here. It doesn't belong here.
For more than 2 years, Deep Water Recovery has been bringing old ships and barges onto their Union Bay property to be dismantled. The company says the government is being very diligent, and if they were doing anything wrong, they would have been shut down a long time ago. But neighbors say it's hazardous waste that should not be on the shores of environmentally sensitive Bain Sound.
This isn't allowed anywhere else in the world, beaching of vessels, so end-of-life vessels, and dragging them up the foreshore and then cutting them up on land. It's 50% of our shellfish industry, and it's the last 33% of the herring spawning area for British Columbia. So why on earth would you allow this to happen when we've got proper shipbreaking facilities and that can be done in deep water ports with full containment?
BC's Environment Ministry says the company is legally allowed to be there, yes, but says it will investigate concerns around potential pollution from the site. It says it has issued 3 warnings and 1 advisory for being out of compliance with the Environmental Management Act. In January, it ordered the company to set up monthly sampling and monitoring. It seems Metro Vancouver residents are returning to public transport in droves. According to TransLink, almost 194 million trips were made across the region in 2022. That's a nearly 50% increase over 2021. Overall, ridership has rebounded to around 80% of 2019 levels.
We're very pleased to have seen ridership coming back, which I think really is a testament of how important transit is here in Metro Vancouver. We're leading so many different major transit agencies throughout North America because I think transit is so integral to Metro Vancouver way of life.
Ridership had taken a sharp dip from 2020 onwards due to the pandemic. Data shows, though, that riders in southeast Metro Vancouver, including Surrey and Maple Ridge, are returning in the highest numbers. TransLink has pledged to add more bus routes to that region. A pair of film buffs from the United States made the long journey to BC in a quest to celebrate the legacy of their favorite movie. The 1995 adventure classic Jumanji was largely filmed here in Metro Vancouver and went on to capture the imaginations of a generation. Our John Hernandez now reports on how the film has led to an unlikely friendship between 2 superfans and one of the creators of the iconic board game.
If you can hear the drums, that means Jumanji chooses you. And it's safe to say Ted Bartlett and Justin Fitz heard the beat.
The first time I watched that movie, I was probably 2. And as soon as he gets sucked into the board game, I was out.
The stampede scene in the library was so loud. Being young, it scared the heck out of me, and I jumped under the seats.
Childhood fears that matured into lifelong adoration. The Robin Williams-led film follows 2 kids who find a magical board game, with each turn bringing jungle-themed dangers to life.
It's a great story. It's something I feel like, kids, old, young, and, adults, everyone just can relate in one way or another.
But the board game always brought me back. And I feel like everybody has something like this that they saw when they were a kid and it just captivated them.
The Jumanji superfans dreamt of playing the iconic board game, so they tracked down the man who helped bring it to life, New Westminster's Dan Sissons.
I had been looking for Dan for a long time because I knew that he was the property master. He would have the most information about the boards. And then one day I found the Instagram profile.
We met on Instagram, and then we decided we should get together, and the first thought was to come here because this is sort of like the center of Jumanji.
Sissons was among the crew tasked with putting together the film's iconic board game.
We made 3 hero wooden boards. They were carved out of African mahogany. But it wasn't just carving, because once that was done, we carved the playing field. We cast those out of resin. We sculpted this out of clay and cast these out of resin, the faceplates that go on top.
A design that inspired Fitz to tackle building a replica of his own.
The corners, again, they're magnetic, so if you want to do the classic throw the token into the corner, you can.
Board game in hand, this unlikely trio embarked on their own Jumanji journey, touring around several of the film's local landmarks. This home in Shaughnessy was a vacant lot back in 1995.
They built a full-sized facade. Basically, you could walk through the door, but nothing was behind it. It was just the front of the building.
That's just crazy to be in a spot that you've seen on TV so many times.
Interior sets of the home were built here at Bridge Studios in Burnaby.
So the kitchen would have been just in this corner here.
For something that you know so well, sets that you know so well, it's wild to be in the room where everything was filmed.
And this iconic Vancouver pub used as the inside of the shoe factory.
This was sort of like the remnants of a foundry where they used to make, I don't know, things for ships and boats and logging.
A drink here might be the norm for many.
Cheers.
But for these three, this toast is decades in the making.
It's definitely been a dream come true. I'm still pinching myself. This is absolutely crazy.
After all, sometimes all it takes to turn fantasy into reality is a little passion, courage, and the right roll of the dice. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
And Port Moody teen Tyson Venegas is sailing through to the top 10 at American Idol.
For once in my life, I had someone who needs me.
This was just about 3 hours ago. We found out he made it through. His former vocal coach we spoke with earlier says the young singer-songwriter has always had a natural talent for music.
Having that level of musicianship just inherently there, that's super uncommon. His start place was coming from such a place of musicality. He's destined for success.
Well, Venegas found global fame earlier this year when he received the show's first platinum ticket. The 17-year-old is the last Canadian standing in the competition. Well, still ahead has been a dramatic weekend on the ice and on the streets as the Maple Leafs and the Oilers advance to the next round of the Stanley Cup. We'll have more full coverage and reaction after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's take you to our province next door, where 3 communities west of Edmonton are under an evacuation order because of an approaching grass fire. The RCMP says this fire is fueled by high winds and it's headed towards the hamlets of Entwistle and Evansburg. It also affects Yellowhead County. People there have been advised to collect their important documents, medications, and enough food and water to be away for at least 3 days. Temporary evacuation centers have been set up in each community. Alberta Wildfire says these fires are just a sign of what's still to come.
It's springtime in Alberta, so what we're seeing is as the snow recedes, the dried grasses from the previous fall are on the landscape. They can ignite very easily.
The cause of those fires are still under investigation, and they aren't the only ones burning in Alberta right now. There are 28 active wildfires right now. There are 50 currently in BC, and it's only going to get warmer this week in both provinces. Well, to national news now. The two sides in the ongoing strike by public sector workers continued talks this weekend. Today, the Public Service Alliance of Canada reported some progress on salary demands and job security. Yesterday, the federal government presented what it called its final offer, which it said included an increase in wages. Workers have been on strike since April 19th. And 2 Canadian teams are heading to the next round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers clinched first-round victories, both last night, just hours apart, fueling fans' fantasies of Cup glory. The CBC's Travis Danraj has a look at this fanticipation.
Coming out in front, no, these aren't the cheers of joy for winning a Stanley Cup, not even close. But for Leafs fans, just getting past the first round is the bar for success these days.
Can't believe it. Pinch me, please, pinch me. Buddy, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to see this. It's been 19 years. Leafs won!
Yes, 19 years is a long time. Toronto last made the Final 8 back in 2004. Joe Nieuwendyk was the hero that night. 268 skaters, 33 goalies, 7 coaches, and 6,948 days later, 32-year-old center John Tavares was the hero this time round.
John Tavares! They finally caught lightning in a bottle!
Obviously, nice to get it, but at the same time, it's just step one, and we know we got a lot more work ahead.
And the Edmonton Oilers have punched their ticket to the second round.
The Oilers also jumped a major hurdle this weekend, eliminating the LA Kings to move on to round 2. From Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to Connor McDavid, the team is loaded with top talent and hoping for a huge playoff run.
It goes in! It goes in!
It's got some, including this Sportsnet hockey analyst daydreaming about an all-Canadian final.
If it's Austin Matthews and the Leafs taking on Connor McDavid and the Oilers, I don't know if this country's psyche could handle that, but it would be a fun 2 weeks.
On both sides of the country, the big wins are giving fans hope.
I think we're killing them in the second round. We're taking this cup home.
For one weekend, they're savoring this moment. Expectations and optimism high as round 2 gets underway. Travis Stanraj, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, this was sunset this evening, a little more peaceful here. This is from the Long Beach Lodge in Tofino. It was a spectacular Sunday, Saturday really, a really seasonal Sunday. We'll have your full 5-day forecast coming up next. And let's give you a look at that long-range forecast. We'll start with the satellite radar to give you an idea just how we arrived from Saturday to Sunday. Quite drastic difference in weather patterns for many regions of the province. There was that low-pressure system. It spun off the Pacific, and it hit those coastal communities, brought some rain showers, but just pockets. It wasn't a full washout. We saw some scattered precipitation over the last 12 hours. As it heads inland and northwards as well, we'll see the rain continue, that unstable air mass, lots of cloud cover, but still some breaks of sun for the most part as we look across BC for tomorrow's forecast. You see those areas where we've got some sun, some clouds, some rain. I'm afraid it's going to be one of those days tomorrow where you have to pack everything from your umbrella to your sunglasses to your flip-flops to your rain boots. Sun, clouds, some pockets of showers, but look at those temperatures still into the 20s through the Okanagan, the interior, and the Kootenays as well. So along the coastal communities will be a bit more temperate, a little cooler, but not too bad. Fairly normal for this time of year, quite seasonal. This is the 5-day forecast for Metro Vancouver. It's not as bad as we thought. That rain is going to move out a little bit quicker as we head in through the week. So still some scattered showers, a chance of them for tomorrow to start your work week. The overnight lows still around the double digits, so not getting too chilly at night. And then still in the mid to high teens, lots of sunshine coming back through midweek. Might see those clouds roll in again towards the end of the week, but not too bad to start your work week. And that is your late news for this Sunday. For News Anytime, of course, you can always head to our website. We're at cbc.ca/BC. Your next local newscast on CBC Radio 1 starting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Thanks so much for watching this weekend. Have a great night.